What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And today I'll be going through my round 18 tips and predictions, as well as going through last week's predictions for round 17 and my big call. So we'll go through what I got last week in round 17, and well, what a round that was. I mean, yeah, so many results that you just wouldn't have expected to happen. If you're a Saints fan, the most perfect ever round. All the results you could have dreamed for would have happened. And I'm probably big real. There was probably 5,000 to 1 odds of all of that happening, and it did. So probably should have put money on that if I'm going to be completely honest. But anyways, let's get straight into the tips, and we'll go through the round 17 tips, and we'll start off with Port Adelaide v Melbourne. And if you didn't watch last week's video, my punishment was to tip all the teams I didn't think were going to win. So I did tip Port Adelaide, and I got it incorrect. Then I tipped Adelaide to beat Essendon, got that one incorrect. I tipped Hawthorn to beat Fremantle, got that incorrect. Tipped Carlton to beat Geelong, got that incorrect. I was looking at my tips going, geez, this is going to be a shocking round. But then the tables turned. St Kilda beat Brisbane, Gold Coast beat GWS, Sydney beat Bulldogs, Collingwood beat Richmond, and North Melbourne beat West Coast. 5 of the biggest upsets you'd ever see back to back in a round where I was tipping upsets. So I ended up getting 5 out of 9, and funnily enough, I actually got better than what most people got, which was very remarkable. In my big calls, let's just go through those. In Port v Melbourne, I predicted that the two teams will score over 90 points, and that was incorrect. In Essendon v Adelaide, I predicted Adelaide to come back from 4 or more goals. Definitely incorrect. And Hawthorn v Freo, I predicted Hawthorn to come back from 3/4 time. Got those incorrect. In Carlton v Geelong, I said that Hawkins will kick 5 or more goals. Obviously that didn't happen. In Brisbane v St Kilda, I said that the Lions will lead by 20 or more points at quarter time, and that obviously didn't happen as well. Then I got my first one correct. In GWS v Gold Coast, I said that Touk Miller will have 35 or more touches and a goal, and he had 35 or more touches and a goal, and that's exactly what happened. The one you probably wouldn't have expected to get correct actually happened. In Bulldogs v Sydney, I said that the Bont will have 25 or more touches and 2 goals, and he only had 27 touches. Then I got the next one correct. In Richmond v Collingwood, I said that the Pies will score 4 or less goals by half time, and I got that one correct. So 2 out of 9. Need the last one correct for me to avoid the punishment. And coming into this game, North v West Coast, I had no idea. And my big call was for North to kick 3 or more goals in the first quarter, and they kicked 2. They kicked bloody 2. If they would have kicked 1 more goal, I would have avoided the punishments. But for the probably 17th week in a row at this rate, got to do the punishment. And yeah, the punishment was from a lesser dog has gone when no dog has gone before. And the punishment was for me to write a letter to the AFL asking for them to create a team based in Shanghai. Now, I'll do it for the next week's tipping video. The reason I'm not doing it now is because the game was played Monday night, so I had to film this video the day after, and I just don't have the time to do it. If I did do it, it'd be really, really crap, and I probably wouldn't even be able to get this tipping video out. So I'll save it for next week to make it actually proper and funny. Yeah, that's congratulations on winning that one. And let's just get straight into the tipping. I'll go through the tipping comp after I go through my tips. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So, round 18, a massive, massive week of footy, considering that the results have gone not quite expected. The top 8 has opened up even more. West Coast and Richmond losing, St Kilda winning. You know, it's opened up. There are a lot of teams now that can make the top 8. And yeah, very, very exciting to see what happens in this round. So let's get straight into it. First game, we got Thursday night footy between Fremantle and Geelong at Optus Stadium. Now, I think this is the first primetime game the Dockers have had in a while. Definitely the first Thursday night or Friday night game I've seen the Dockers play in probably 4 or 5 years, if I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah, well, obviously Freo, they lost to Carlton the week prior, which was a massive game for them to make the top 8, and they found a way against the Blues, but their win against the Hawks was really convincing. They won by over 10 goals, in which what I expected them to win. I didn't expect them to dismantle the Hawks like they did in that game, because the Hawks generally play quite well in Tas. You don't usually lose by margins as big as that, and so that's a good thing for the Dockers, but they've got a test in this one. They're playing a top 4 side in the Cats. I think the Dockers, I've read a stat where they've only beaten 1 top 8 side this year, and that was the Swans. And the other teams they've beaten were quite low on the ladder, like 18th, 17th, 16th. So they haven't really beaten anyone that great, the Dockers. So this is a real test to see where they're at. If they are actually finals worthy, they need to be beating these teams. I feel like teams just kick crap just when they're playing the Cats, and the Cats just capitalise. You know, Blues kick 4 points, the Cats kick 1 goal. you know, it just doesn't really make much sense. But the Cats got a 26-point lead. Never thought they were going to lose that, and they didn't. And it's a big test, obviously, for the Dockers. But I feel like, even though this game means a lot for the Dockers, I feel like the Cats will stand up to the occasion and, yeah, get the job done. I feel like the Dockers will contest for 3 quarters, but the last quarter, Cats put the foot on the pedal, and they'll win the game by 22 points with my big call that the Cats kick 5 or more goals in the last quarter. Now, we move on to the Friday night game, and this is between Richmond and Brisbane at the MCG. If I would have told you this fixture 10 weeks ago, I would have said Richmond, for sure. They never lose games at the MCG. Tables have turned, and the Tigers are in one of their worst form slumps in a while. I mean, yeah, their top 8 chances are slipping away very, very quickly, and if they don't start pinching wins against the teams like the Lions, it's gone. So they probably have to win this game if they want to keep in touch with the top 8. But the thing is, the Lions are a very good side this year. They didn't have a great game, obviously, against the Saints last week. Many would have predicted them to win, but they, yeah, were just disappointing. They couldn't get the ball working. The Saints were very good defensively, though. I've got to give them credit for that. And Hipwood, a massive blow, having an ACL injury, which will put him out for the rest of the year, which puts a lot of pressure on Danaher now. He's their main target and really their only target. Obviously, I will touch on the Tigers quickly about how poor they've been. Should have beaten the Pies, but choked a 20-point lead or 24-point lead at one stage against the Tigers in that against the Pies in that last quarter. Look, it's a sort of game that the Tigers could win. They could bounce back and find their mojo, but I don't think that'll happen. Lions, they're too good of a team for that to happen. I'll predict them to win the game by 27 points, with my big call being that Zach Bailey has 3 or more goals and 20 or more disposals. Now, the next game we have is Saturday afternoon footy at Mars Stadium between GWS and Sydney. Now, obviously, you know, Sydney are in a pretty bad state with COVID, so they are relocating these games, and it's another game at Mars, which probably for the Giants they won't be happy about. They were probably arguably the biggest losers of the weekend. I mean, they had a massive opportunity to scalp the top 8 if they would have just beaten the Suns, but they failed again. So they've dropped points now to the Suns, the Hawks, and the Roos. Can you believe it? The Giants would be kicking themselves. And the Swans, on the other hand, were probably the big winners. They played outstanding against the Dogs. They were just too good for them and ended up winning the game by, I think it was 17 points, which now makes them a genuine flag contender at this rate. I mean, they could potentially make the top 4, but they have the capabilities, honestly, more than Port, to winning the flag this year. They've beaten the good sides, and Port really haven't done that. Obviously, we all know who's coming into this one. Favourites, the Swans, $1.51 to $2.57 in the Giants. However, these are the sort of games that the Giants just pinch. They beat the Ds when no one expected it, and then they lose to sides like Hawthorn and Gold Coast, which everyone expects them to win. So I'm going to go the upset in this one. As much as the Swans will probably win this, I'm going to go GWS to win the game by 5 points. And my big call being that the Amati party, Joel Amati, has 3 or more goals. Now, the next game is between Gold Coast and the Western Bulldogs, 4:35 at Metricon Stadium. This is probably not going to be a great match, if I'm going to be completely honest. The Dogs, obviously, will be red-hot favourites. However, Gold Coast did get a really good win against the Giants, and they've got 2 wins in a row now to pretty decent sides, the Tigers and the Giants. And the Dogs dropped a game that they probably should have won. They probably should have won against the Swans, but I wouldn't be too worried. You know, they can afford to drop a game or 2 like that, especially against quality opposition like the Swans. They could upset the Dogs, but I don't see it happening. They're just not that good of a quality lineup, and I don't think the Dogs will afford to lose against the Suns. I know the Giants and the Tigers did, but the Dogs, they don't lose against the sides below them. So I will go the Dogs in this one, but I think it'll be sort of a close one. I'm going to go Dogs to win this by 17 points, with my big call being that the Suns lead at half-time. Now, the next game, which is on the exact same time slot, 4:35, we've got Melbourne taking on Hawthorn at the MCG. This is probably going to be a one-sided affair, considering that the Ds did knock off the Power at Adelaide Oval last week by 6 goals, and the Hawks, they got done by 60 against the Dockers. So, you know, on paper, this could be a belting waiting to happen. I think it will be similar results to how it was played earlier between Melbourne and Hawthorn, in the way that they went up a few gears and they beat the Hawks by like 50 points. I think the D's too strong. Not a lot to talk about in this game, if I'm going to be completely honest. The D's just want to win this game. to solidify their spot in the top 2. So I'll tip the D's to win this one by 47 points, with my big call being that the D's have 15 or more marks inside 50. Now we move on to what I am most excited about. This is St Kilda taking on Port Adelaide, Marvel Stadium, Saturday night footy. Massive game, massive game. This is for both sides, but more importantly the Saints. And quick note, I don't think Port Adelaide have played St Kilda in Melbourne since 2013, and I haven't been to a Saints v Port game since 2010. And there's a chance that I might not even go this week, because I think my mate has a party on the same night. So hopefully I can still go, but we'll see what happens. Regardless, massive game, because the Saints last week, they beat the red hot Lions, and now they are one of the informed teams of the comp. They're finding their 2020 form again. Like, we've won 3 in a row. We beat the Tigers, the Pies, the Lions, and the Power, who are a good side, aren't in the greatest form after their loss to the D. So we have a chance here. We definitely have a chance here in this one. Screw it. I will tip the Saints in this one. I think this will be a very close contest. St Kilda to win this game by 9 points. And my big call will be that there will be 28 or more combined goals in the game. Now we move on to the Sunday games. And the first game we've got is between North Melbourne and Essendon. Both teams had very great results. The Bombers, in one of the shittest games of footy you'll ever see, kept the Crows to 21 points, I think it was, or 22, which was their lowest score in their history. Their top 8 chances are still alive as well. I know they are sitting on the 7 wins, but they've got a pretty easy run home and a decent percentage. Whilst North Melbourne, who would have predicted them? Well, I mean, I did, but I didn't think they'd actually win. To beat the Eagles away. Eagles are now in some absolute horror form. After losing by 60 points to the Dogs, 90 points to the Swans, and then losing to North at home. Yeah, just terrible for the Eagles. Their form after the bye now are 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. And there's a chance I could see them potentially winning this one against the Bombers, but the Bombers just have too much at stake, too much to play for, and obviously they are a better side than North Melbourne. I see them winning this game by 28 points, with my big call being that both teams combine for over 200 points. Now, this next game is another big game, probably not in the context of finals or anything, but just due to the rivalry and the fact that this is probably one of the most even games you'll ever come across. Carlton are taking on Collingwood at the MCG, 3:20 on a Sunday. I don't know who to tip. This is a 50-50 game if you've ever seen one. Collingwood last week beating the Tigers after looking lost late in that third quarter. Kicked 7 goals in that last quarter to produce one of the biggest comebacks of the year. I know they are sitting like 15th or 16th, but their last quarter against the Saints was very impressive, and they did come back against the Dockers. And obviously the weeks prior, they beat the Adelaide and Melbourne. So Collingwood are in some alright form. The Blues are also in some decent form. You know, they did beat Adelaide and Freo, but last week was disappointing against the Cats. I'm sure all Blues fans will probably think that they were arguably the better side, or at least they should have been in the game for longer. Their kicking was just woeful. 5 goals, 14. Will not win you many games of footy, and it didn't against the Cats last week. Yeah, honestly, I'm just going to go the Blues. The Blues I don't remember the last time the Blues have actually beaten the Pies. You know, they just seem to always have their hopes up into beating them, and then they just fail. And the last 2 games, I did tip the Blues, and I got the tip wrong, but you'd think the Blues will finally get a win against the Pies. And they're playing some better footy. If they can just get a few things sorted and they can actually kick straight this week, I reckon the Blues will win the game. But it'll be quite a close one. I'm going to go Carlton by 11. And my big call will be that there'll be 9 or more lead changes in this game. And the last game of the round, which is probably going to be a stinker of a game, is between Adelaide and West Coast at Adelaide Oval. Well, both sides are probably the 2 out-of-form sides of the comp, along with Richmond, you could say. Adelaide had an absolute horror game against the Bombers on a Friday night. Only kicked 2 goals. I did tip him, but obviously I did think the Bombers would win, but I didn't think they'd play like that. I thought it would have been a fairly close game. And it wasn't, that's for sure. The Crows are in, some pretty poor form. They've only won 2 games since round 5, I think it is. So, yeah, it's going to be hard to find form. But I guess against the Eagles, who are probably in even worse form, they could pinch a win at home, especially the Eagles. Well, I did touch on them earlier. I don't really want to go into detail. They're just in some horrible form, and I do really now see their spot in the top 8 being taken at the end of the year, which is good for the Saints, because I reckon we can actually take their spot in the 8 and maybe make finals. But I will go Eagles on this one. I just think they'll find a bit of mojo. I still think they're a better side than Adelaide, but I don't think it'll be a great game, and they're not going to smash them or anything. I'll go Adelaide I'll go West Coast to win the game by 19 points, and my big call, Taylor Walker kicks 6 or more goals. I just feel like this would be the sort of game where he just ticks a bag. He just kicks a bag, and I'm going to predict that to happen on the weekend. So those were my tips and predictions for round 18. Pretty tough games to predict. This is going to be a very exciting round of footy, that is for sure. My tipping comp has like 830 odd people. I'm probably going to close it soon, but I keep saying it, I never do. I've got 97 tips correct, and I'm 39th now in my tipping comp after last week. Wow. Maybe tipping upsets was the way to go, but Harry Sinnott is still on top with 105. I'm only 7 away from the top spot, so you never know what could happen, but I don't think that's going to be the case. If you do want to join it though, Cardman22's tipping comp, just search it up on ESPN Tippings. But there you go, guys, that was the video. If you haven't joined my Discord server, as I mentioned in my last video, go and do that. Link will be down below. But anyways, thanks for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like and subscribe. Comment down a punishment that you'd like to see me do, and obviously the one with the most likes, that's the most appropriate, I'll be doing in an up and coming tipping video. But yeah, thanks for watching.